Hello all, it's Devora Krasnianski here from Adai. Once again, welcome to our series of conference calls. Tonight's call is I'm very excited about tonight's topic. Many of our calls are a little bit more heavy, and I'm excited tonight to talk to a regular general issue, such as personality and temperament. And I'm really, really grateful to Esther Friedman for joining us tonight. During this call, if you have any questions that you want to send in anonymously, you can send it to us at Adai, that's ADAIAD.org /ask anonymous question, and we'll get that throughout the call. This call and all other calls have been recorded, and they're available at our website. We have dozens of calls there now at adaiad.org, ADAIAD.org /past-events. So welcome to tonight's call. Esther Friedman is a Temperament Certified Professional. She's also a shlucha in Overland Park, Kansas. As a Temperament Certified Professional, she specializes in self-improvement, parenting, and relationship issues, which she'll talk a little bit more. I think we'll just let her just jump right in and talk a little bit about her background in the field and how you got into that. So firstly, welcome, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you, Dora. Thank you for asking me to do this.
So can you share how you got into this? What is your background in this?
So for many years as a shlucha, I've been working in counseling people. And my son brought this to my attention, and I just absolutely found it fascinating. Temperament theory is a very holistic look at a person, whereas regular psychology looks at the behavior. Behavior can be different. It can be the same, but for different reasons. But temperament looks at the whole picture. And what was fascinating for me is how much it works with physics. So when you take both of it together, this is an amazing tool. This is unbelievable psychology, but this is an excellent, excellent tool. So what temperament actually does, it tells you the characteristics of the person, what you were naturally born with. So when I do counseling now, I can actually get into the person's truth. I can understand them. I can understand where they're coming from. And it isn't about my opinion, or I think right or wrong. I can actually feel their emotions. I can actually understand their thinking. And that changes because it's so much more holistic.
Right. So firstly, when we say the word temperament, what are we referring to, and how is that different from the word personality?
Temperament is the characteristic that you were born with. The way they were made at birth. Personality is a combination of a lot of things. It's temperament, it's your character, it's the impact your family and the environment has on you. But the temperament itself is your wiring at birth.
So, could you give some examples of what that would look like, what temperament is as opposed to personality, and your wirings at birth?
You know what? So let me go into actual scenarios and understanding it in more concrete way so that I can apply it. Okay. So let me give you one example. Style of communication. Okay, which would be the first reason for misunderstanding or for conflict in relationship, right? Is the style of communication. There are two styles of communication. There's directive and there's informative. A directive person tells it straightforward, the way it is. An informative person informs. Now, each one is wired this way. You don't think about it. This is just the way you talk. Okay. So look so I'll give you a case scenario, and then you'll have an understanding of how it plays out. Let's say I'm dating. I'm on a date. I'm dating. It's on my second date. I'm going out with this guy. I get into the car. He says to me, "Where do you want to go?" And my thought is, what? What's he asking me? He has no confidence. He has no assertiveness. He has no opinions. I mean, isn't his job to figure this out before we go out? Why is he asking? The reality is he by nature, he's informative. He's already planned the date. He knows where we're going. He has options. But by nature, he's accommodating, so he wants it to be a team effort. Let's do this together. But I'm totally misunderstanding because I misunderstand because I'm directed. So my style is very different. So instead of fully listening to what he's doing, I already have a reaction. So let me give you another case, okay? And you see the other way around with someone's directive, and then I'll go back and do both of them, okay? They get to the store, they're looking for a couch, and he finds the couch that he likes right away, and he says, you know what, I like this, let's get this. And she says, maybe we should look around more. There's so many options. And he says, I don't need any more options. I like this couch. And she says, but there are so many more couches. Why do we have to make such a quick decision? And he says, I like it. I'm good to go. And she's thinking, why is he forcing me to buy this couch? I told him 3 times that I don't like it, and he's not giving me any choices. Why is he being so forceful and not letting me make a choice too? Okay, so you had 2, I hope you heard the first one, you had 2 cases here. One where the guy says, where do you want to go? And that's an informative way of talking. But to the person that's directive, it comes across as if he has no confidence, he has no assertiveness, doesn't have opinion. He's depending on me to take the initiative to make the choice. When actually doesn't mean that at all. This is his style of talking. He just wants to, let's do it together. But he already has a plan. The other guy, he found the couch he likes. Okay? And she looks at it and says, why is he forcing me? He's directive. He tells it like it is. And she is, why is he forcing me? And they go home and they get the couch, and maybe 3 months later she says, she just mentions that not really her style, not her favorite color, and he's shocked. Like, why didn't you tell me that you didn't like it? We'd have gotten something else. She said, but I did. But because she was informative, he didn't hear it. And it's the other way around also. When a person is directive and says it like, this is the couch I want, it's like, why is he forcing things? Because a person that's assertive won't be directive unless they are under a lot of stress or they're angry. So, or something has to be that they would react like this, because normally they wouldn't talk like that. That's not their wiring. So when someone talks to them like that, there's an immediate emotional pushback on the inside. Why are they angry at me? Why are they being forceful? When actually, it's a style of communication that if each one learned that about the other, it would make a world of a difference in understanding. And to expect the other to change, sure, you can expect it. But then you got to do the same. That's very, very difficult. Understanding each other makes such a difference in understanding the communication pattern. So here's another example. The guy's coming home. He's coming home from work. Husband's coming home from work, and the wife calls him up and says to him, any chance you're passing the grocery store? And he thinks, what? Of course I'm passing the grocery store. I pass the grocery store every day. What's she asking me? So he says, yes, I'm passing the grocery store. So she says to him, I need bananas for the baby. And he thinks, what does she want? If she wants me to buy bananas, why doesn't she just tell me? When you pass the, would you mind stopping by the grocery store and picking up bananas? Mm-hmm. So immediately there's a reaction to the way she's talking. What's the matter? She can't assert herself? She has no confidence? Why does she tell me directly? But this is her style of talking. This is the way this is the way an informative person talks. She is informative. And there's an immediate reaction. And what happens is many times directive people will not hear informative people because they look at it as wimpy or not assertive or passive-aggressive, or they don't even understand what you're trying to tell them. Tell it to me straight. Why are you beating around the bush? But they're not. Well, you may look at it that way. This is their style of communication. And they're more accommodating by nature. Because they're more accommodating, this is their style. Whereas the directive person says it flat out, and they can come out very strong, though they don't mean to. This is the way they talk. And the informative person becomes defensive right away. Why am I being yelled at? What's he angry about? What did I just say? What happened? See? Here's another example. He's on his way home from work, and she calls him. The wife calls him, and she says to him very directly, please stop by the grocery store and pick up some bananas. Okay? But he has a headache. So he says to her, do you need it right now? I have a headache. So she says, yeah, I need it right now. I'm sorry you have a headache, but I need it. So he says, are you sure it needs to be done right now? And she says, yes, I need it. And he's thinking, why can't she take no for an answer? Why does she have to be so pushy? But if you notice, he never said no to her. But that's his way of saying no, because he's informative. Had he been direct, and she expects to hear a no because she's directed. Now, if you understand each style of communication, that makes the world of a difference in understanding each other and what each one is saying to the other one. But it goes a lot further than that. Because then you stop thinking of, is he angry? Is he not assertive? Is she not this? Is he not that? It changes your whole picture. And each one learns how to communicate better so the other one understands where they're coming from. So this directive informative is huge when it comes to communication and how much does communication affect the marriage. So here's a girl going out. She's dating, and she's calling for guidance. And she's directive by nature. So she's calling me for dating advice, and she's having a tremendous struggle. Every guy I date, he's such a whip. I mean, is it impossible to find a guy that's assertive? The problem is that she's associating the style of talk, being informative, to being accommodating. She's associating that with a lack of confidence. Okay, and she's associating directiveness, telling like it is, to confidence, when in actuality, it doesn't prove it at all. People who are directive cannot be confident, and people who are informative, people think they're wimpy, but it's not true. They can be very confident. So it's not something you can't tell by that. So through working with her, pinpointing exactly what her problem, what does she call wimpy, and what does confidence mean? What is she looking for? We can now solve the problem of how when she dates, she should look for confidence without making the mistake of assuming that informative is lack of confidence and directive is confidence. Because then you get into the marriage and suddenly, well, I thought I married a confident person, but the assumption was totally wrong from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. The wonderful thing about temperament theory is that it shows you the wiring, and then you realize that these are the wiring they actually gave people from birth, and everything they actually gave us is a gift. We can use it as a negative, and then it becomes a weakness. Sure, I can take a diamond and think it's a CZ and act like that. But the reality is that it is a diamond. When we recognize the gifts that we have, that is remarkable. We stop looking at what others have. We stop comparing. We each have a mission. We have something to create. It is so remarkable, and you can look at your strengths and your gifts and use them in such a healthy, wonderful way. Same thing it is with children. We make these, we plan that our kids are going to be the best kids, and we're going to teach them, and we're going to make them, and we're going to form them. No, they're born a certain way. The Eibishter already gave you the gift. Now, will be dark way, not my way, his way. And it is fascinating when we know the temperaments of a child, because then you can start very early and use it and bring out his gifts where he sees his strengths, and he can use it right. Your Shemayim, the self-worth it does for him when he gets to know his gifts, or she, it's a boy, girl. It's an amazing thing. And that's what temperament theory really shows you. It's not looking at a problem, at a syndrome, at an issue. It's looking at what you have, and now you have to use it right. Use it well. Use it correctly. And that will answer, it will give you self-worth. Because when you're your true you, that's amazing. That's when you're your healthiest. You look at Moshe Rabbeinu, he said he was an Anav Mikol Adam. He was the most humble. What made him the most humble is that he knew his strength. He knew the gift the Eibishter gave him. He didn't deny that. He didn't put himself down. That's not being an Anav. He knew his gifts. But what he said was, if someone else would have gotten the same gift, they would have done so much better. That's humble. When we look at ourselves and say, instead of looking at what someone else has, like not fair, like a child, it's not fair what they have. They gave us such unbelievable gifts. And we also developed such gratitude. Oh, these are my strengths. This is my wiring. This is what Eibishter gave me. Now I can use them and have gratitude to the Eibishter for what he gave me, instead of looking at what I'm missing, which I'm really not missing. It's just not for me, because that's not part of my mission in life. So basically, so that's what I want to start with. One of the first things that, so there is the directive informative, because that is very, very, that's big. Communication is big. And to be able to get into somebody's mindset instead of thinking about my way but their way, opening myself up, that's what relationship is all about. If I'm a wife, it's relationship. If I'm a husband, it's about relationship. If I'm a mother, it's about relationship. If I'm a woman, a girl, a boy, a man, that's about me. We're talking relationship. And relationship is the ability to open myself up and make room for someone else in my life. Making room for someone else in my life is really getting into shoes a little bit, or her shoes, understanding. And communication is such an important part of that.
So is it possible, Esther, that we should be looking for a specific type of person? Like if you're directive, is it easier to live with another directive, or does it not really matter as long as you appreciate the other person? Like, can you talk to that a little bit? Like in Shidduchim, should we be looking for? Go ahead.
Every marriage can work as long as you work at it. So everything can work. But yes, but there are matches that are, I wouldn't say easier, but let me give you an example. For instance, if you have two directive people and they both tell it like this, there's going to be fireworks in that marriage. They may have a very good marriage, but it's going to cause more fireworks because they're both directive. Okay? But they'll get things done because directive people step in, roll up, get things done. They're leaders. They're not necessarily team workers. They can be. They can be good team workers, okay? But they get things done. And then you have informative. That's why you need both. Then you have informative people who are more relaxed. So you won't get as much. They'll get along very well. Either one get along very well. There'll be less fireworks. They're both informative. But on the other hand, they may not get as much done. So every shidduch the Eibishter makes is for a purpose. There is a picture that has to be. It's not random. Shidduchim aren't random. We are here to fulfill a mission. right? It's here in the Kavanah. We're here to fulfill a mission. And so the shidduch is made for the personal picture of that mission. So whatever comes into the picture is what's needed for that. Now, if you have directive and formative, that's a good balance. I'm not saying the other ones aren't good, but directive, even though it can cause miscommunication, but sometimes you need somebody to take charge, and sometimes you need somebody to take a step back and be more of an accommodator. And they each, if they're working at the marriage, strengthen each other by moving more to the center of the other person. You see that? And that's a great gift. It's not the only thing that is different. So there's other things that one needs to move, that helps one move to the center. Go ahead. You want to ask something?
So that being said, if a couple now is, either two informatives or two directives, and they're starting to nod their head and say, that's us. What can we, with this knowledge that we just discovered, what can we be doing?
So in my work,
knowing. Go ahead.
What? So in the work that I do an assessment, so it gives me an understanding of each one, or even if I understand one, but it helps tremendously. I do an assessment and then guide them in the specific case that they're struggling with. Why does my husband do this? Why does my wife do that? And so I explain in a specific case scenario exactly what they're going through and how to first to understand where it's coming from and then how to turn it around. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the person now has a much better understanding how to communicate and better understanding how to turn that around. Also, doesn't take it personally because they're realizing where the other one's coming from. Let me give you another thing, okay? And then we'll go back to the question because it can apply to both. Let's do something else, like attentive expressive. Some people are expressive, and some people are attentive. Expressive people are people that they think out loud. What's on their mind, they say. Okay, so they're talkers. Socially, they're much more social because they are talkers, right? Attentive people are listeners. So imagine if the whole world was expressive. What would that sound like? Imagine if the whole world was attentive. There would be no sound. You need both. You need people that are expressive, and you need people that listen, that are attentive. And there's a mileage to both, okay? Expressive people, again, are more comfortable talking. Attentive people are more comfortable listening. So if you're dating a boy or a girl that's expressive, it's easy for the conversation to get more comfortable very fast because they're talking. So you can move into it right away and it becomes more comfortable. If you're dating somebody that's attentive, it's going to take a lot longer for the conversation to become comfortable. And sometimes a girl or a boy, not many times, can say no to the other one within 1 or 2 dates because they think that he's not comfortable with himself or she's not comfortable with herself. But the reality is that they're much better being a listener than a conversationalist. And that could be a huge milestone in marriage. Okay? So a guy can say after 2 times, one time, no, she's too quiet. And when he says she's too quiet, what he's also meaning she's too timid. But the reality is that she can have a very strong sense of self. A strong opinion, and really be very healthy in herself. It's just that takes her longer to get comfortable in a conversation with a new person. Same thing with a boy. It'll take a longer to get in a conversation with a new person. But once they're married, you don't have that issue as much because, they're still attentive, but now they're comfortable with each other. So the goal here that I would be working with this person that's dating, okay, is to find out what their goal is in marriage. What is more valuable for them or for you, right? That they'll have a spouse that they are comfortable with in public because they do well socially. And the downside will be that they may not be just such a good listener at home. Or they're willing to forego the comfort in public, let's say. I mean, it's not really comfort, the quiet in public. They're willing, but they're going to have somebody who's really going to listen to them. And now the picture changes. They see it totally different. See that? So it's, and it's the same thing in marriage. Sometimes if the person is attentive and the other one is expressive, you're waiting for an answer. And go, what's taking so long? Why can't they just answer already? But they're thinking. And the chances are a person who talks quickly, the talker, the expressive one, will put their foot in their mouth way more times than the one that's attentive than the one that's listening. That's a listener, right? So the listener has to become comfortable with their spouse that may say things so quickly and will make people around them uncomfortable, but they are so quick to express themselves. Where an attentive person thinks before they talk. But you need both. You need this and you need that. And how do you know that? Because that's what the Abishtim made. You can't. Both add remarkably to the world around us. So that's what temperament does. Now you look at the person and you see who they are, and you can explain to them and to the partner, the spouse, someone that they're going out with. You can explain to them these differences, how to view it. How would that change the picture? And they can make a much clearer choice of what their goal is and what they want in their future. Or if they're married, they can see things so much clearer instead of becoming a conflict. Because directive people are prone, and now we're going back to directive, not expressive, directive people are prone to tuning out informative people. Because why don't you just tell me? I mean, if he's not going to tell it to me straight, then it's his problem. I'm not going to deal with it. If he can't tell it to me straight, or she can't, I'm not going to break myself over this. Too bad. So it's tuning out. And the informative person is like, where did all this emotion come from? I just said something. Why are you getting so angry? But they're not. Why are they so assertive? Why are they so forceful? We're talking about small things. See what happens? It's just, it's amazing.
So is it that some of or many of the Shalom Bayis challenges that have come up are not so much the issue that they're fighting about or whatever, having an issue with, it's possibly the different temperaments or different personalities?
Yes.
Can we say that?
Yes. If both people are mentioned, we're talking about relationships that they're both, you're not talking an extreme of abuse, chas v'shalom, or something terribly negative. We're talking about, where both people are mentioned. Absolutely. Understanding the other one, understanding the temperament can make such a difference. The most of the misunderstanding is because most of the conflict is because of misunderstanding. So doing that is really, that would be, go ahead.
So it would be a gift for newlyweds to have them learn about their personalities or their temperaments and what each other's are, so that they can know what are each other's trigger points or how to talk to each other, or at least understand how, when they are not talking, what that might mean, and not make assumptions. Would you say that is a good gift?
Absolutely. I think it should be part of the expenses of a wedding. I really do. I think it should.
And I actually gave it to one of my kids. We did one of my couples. We did give it, and they thought it was amazing and so helpful. They were like married 3 weeks or something. So
see, the people going to Shana Rishona, and you hear the Shana Rishona. I'm telling you, you can pick up. It's amazing. It would be an amazing gift. And the thing to do the first year, that's the whole idea of spending time together. You don't go to war, you don't go there, is to get to know each other. And all these differences come up and becomes a conflict for nothing, for no reason. Each one comes into the marriage who they are. And the greatest thing is to be able to be accepted for who you are. Not with all these, how come this and that, and I thought, and so we get married, and how long does it take to realize we married somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand each other, it's a whole different, and if you understand yourself.
That was going to be my next question. The importance, like, if you're not in a couple relationship yet, there's value in understanding your own temperament in any case.
Absolutely. It absolutely. It helps in your relationship with parents. It helps in relationship with work, with friends. It helps in, I'm going to give you an example that a child, I mean, it's just fascinating. One of my own granddaughters, 10 years old, and she's struggling with something at school. So here she's a 10-year-old, so you think she wouldn't understand much, but I know her temperament, and she's struggling. And her mother mentioned, my daughter mentioned to me, that she's struggling. It just came up. She never had this particular struggle at school before. So I sat down with her, and I explained to her temperaments, wiring of different people, wiring herself. And as I'm explaining to her, she's actually able to identify her own. And so I explained to her own, so she's able to identify her own. And then I go into more detail so that she understands it better. And then I explain other people's temperaments and why there would be differences and why there may be some clash. And the bottom line was, if she wants things to change, it's important for her to understand the role she plays in it, and it's important for her to understand how she should relate to others, understanding them. And she walked away a whole different person because she now knew what she needed to do. At 10 years old, she walked away knowing what she needs to do to accomplish the goal she wants to get at. So if a child wants to, they're interested, you can accomplish that, yes. The reality is it's a fabulous tool for parents because children, you can know from children how they're wired, who they are. You really can.
From what age?
Sometimes very early, but at the age of 5, then 4 or 5, easy to do. At the age of 4 or 5. Sometimes even earlier on. Yeah. I have a different case.
So you can really shortcut something. You can shortcut some of the conflict.
You can shortcut some of the conflict because if the parents raise them according to their temperament, they don't know they're being raised according to their temperament, but they're growing up understanding themselves just from the way the parents work with them. And then the parents extend that to the school. And then say, this is my child, the way my child functions. So when teacher says, there's an issue, you go, no, there's no issue. This is the way they function based on da-da-da-da, right? And now the teacher has to answer to the parent in a whole different way because the parent knows their child. Remarkable.
Right.
And it makes so many, not only that, if it's a real issue, you can pick it up. And that's also a gift because you can really pick up an issue. So, I mean, I don't know if we were talking so much about children, but a lot of this ADD and ADHD, it's not really true. We put our children on medication because we want them to fit into a mold of sitting in a classroom the way it's set up in the 1900s or in this century, this time. But for thousands of years, this was not the makeup. And kids did not have to sit 8 hours in a chair. Even adults can't do that. But so the format of forcing them into a box now causes people to say, here's an issue, and they have attention deficit. But if these kids, you give them something to do that they're very interested in, they can spend 3 hours on something that they are absolutely focused on that works for them. But we put them on medication and work with their brain function that is really very unhealthy. So instead of looking at the child, the holistic person, we just put them into a box and say, this doesn't fit. Well, some will fit and some won't. And that's really
Let's go back to the different temperaments. We kind of explored briefly expressive and attentive and directive and informative. Are there other areas that just give an idea, a quick idea?
Well, there are others. There is, but you need more in depth to understand it. So I really didn't focus on it now. But if you want me to give it to you quickly, there is 2 ways of thinking. There's concrete and abstract. An abstract thinker thinks very differently than a concrete. They live in 2 different worlds. 75% of the population are concrete, so they understand each other. There's another 25% that's abstract. Concrete people will have a hard time understanding abstract people. And abstract people may find concrete people petty because they don't see the big picture. The reality is, if they both understand how each one works and they complement each other, they can all complement each other. How each one works, it's unbelievable because now you get into a mindset, you understand what you're not understanding. But that takes a lot more to explain. And then there's another thing that is very, very important to know, but again, it takes a lot more work than this, and that is, and it's very important, is a person wired to do what works, or is a person wired to do what's right? What works is not wrong. Okay, and what's right doesn't mean right according to halacha. If a person is raised in the mafia, he can be the best murderer because that's the right thing to do. So if you look at the time of Abraham, everybody was an idol worshiper. It was the wrong, and according to halacha, it's the wrong thing to do. But according to the times, that's what everyone did. So that's what they're taught is the right thing to do. And you only know, you see that? But Abraham himself, did he do what everyone else did? No, he was wired to do what works, and he made huge changes.
Yitzchak is also fascinating. Yeah.
Yes. Yitzchak does what's right. He continues the work of his father. You need both. When you need change, you need someone that does what works. When you need continuity, you need someone that does what's right. So we look at, but this is the wiring, and we look at a person that does, many times you look at a person that does what works, and they're going to say, oh, no, you're not doing what's right. But no, it's not so simple. Sometimes the person that does what's right is in the box too much. But when they're all doing the right thing, everything's fabulous. So you have to, that's why an assessment on knowing yourself makes such, it's fascinating in your own health, and it's fascinating in your relationships. And with a spouse, for sure, because you allow them to be who they are.
So could you describe, I have two questions here. Can you describe what a temperament assessment looks like? Like when you experience it, what does it feel like? Like if I did an assessment with you. And secondly, in the second half of the question is if we don't do an assessment, can we still kind of become a little bit more self-aware so that we can kind of use this concept in general? So those are two separate questions. I don't even know why I put them together.
So
one is what is
first.
Go ahead.
Because if you just looked at what I did, just understanding attentive, expressive, understanding directive, informative, if you want to, you can apply that right away. Okay, you can apply that right away if you really want to see, if you want to see a change. Okay, or if you want to understand things better. So yes, but in order to really make it effective fully, an assessment itself has two parts to it. There's an intake, and my daughter, Berkeley Pearls, she does all my intake. It's a test. If it's for children, you need both parents and their questions asked. And if it's an adult, there's a format. I mean, you both have their formats. And she's trained. She actually got trained before me. And then when I got trained, I was so impressed with her that I got trained. So she does the intake. We go over all the, all of it, and then we have a second session that does the results. And we charge $300
for the both sessions.
For both sessions, yes. You get about the first session is about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the test. Is about a half hour to 45 minutes, and the second part is about an hour and 15 minutes, getting understanding of yourself. Now, if you did it as a couple, so you do two, and each one could be on the phone. As long as there's permission, each one could be on the phone with the other. You see, so that they can understand the other one. I had a woman that after 25 years of marriage, she did it. And she was blown away. So she was talking to her husband about it, and he goes, "What? That's you?" And she realized how much how much she needed to really let him know who she was, and it was remarkable for her to be able to A, realize, and B, to be able to communicate now in a way that's effective, that he would hear her.
I could also imagine it gives you words to use, like, this is who I am, instead of just like kind of having it as like, this is sort of who I am, or this is what I like. You kind of give it definition, and when you name things, you can use it more.
Right. For instance, I'll do this. I'll tell about myself. If you haven't noticed, I'm directive. I tell it like it is. Okay, that's my wiring. There was a time that it bothered me. And then when I learned, I realized, wait a minute, this is a gift. There's so much I can do with it that's positive. Why am I focusing on maybe I should become more informative? So, but one time, you're a parent. You tell your child something, and one of my children it annoyed them, what I said. And so I said to them, I said, why is it annoying you? You know I'm directive, so this is the way I'm gonna say it. And they like, oh, Ma. But it broke the whole thing. He truly understood. Yeah, he understood. That's right. Why am I expecting something different? My mother is just telling it to me the way she says it, not because of something underlying. Okay, but right away I said, did you know I'm directive? Okay, and it broke the. Okay, do you have any questions or?
Yeah, so let me just see. There's a question that came in. Hold on. How can I become at peace with my spouse who's hold on. There's a lot of questions that came in, but that one I like that one. How do I make peace with the aspects of my husband's personality that are not changing? He's not making an effort to compliment me. Go ahead.
Okay, how do I make peace with the aspect of my husband's personality that I'm not changing?
That he's not changing. That's not going to change.
Oh, that's not going to change. Okay, that's not going to change. Actually, it's a great question. But I'm going to play with it. I'd like to turn it around. How does my husband make peace with the effect of my personality that I'm not changing?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's really the greater question. Right? It was the other way around, but that's really the greater question. What is my part in what's going on here? And when I say, how do I make peace, it's like giving up. It's like, there's no movement here. There's no way this is going to correct itself. I'm going to have to live this for the rest of my life. Okay? That's not good. Okay? The question is, how does my husband make peace? What is my part in this? Now, there's other things that the husband's not going to like. I mean, she doesn't like this. But what is my part? What am I doing that really is this is making this happen? And there's definitely two people in this. So what is the husband not doing? Not giving her compliments? Mm-hmm. What is she doing that's causing that? Now, maybe by nature, that's not his thing. Maybe he was never raised that way. Maybe he didn't hear it at home. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't want to do it. Maybe she's asking for in a way that he shuts her out. Or maybe she's not communicating how important it is for her. It could be if she's directive, it may be too much for him. If she's informative, it may be too little for him. Or she's not assertive enough in his mind. Okay? So what am I doing here that is not having the effect, is not having the outcome that I'd like to see? So the most effective thing to do is to look at my part in it, because when I do that, I can now take control of the situation. There's room for change. When I have to make peace with something, it's like I've lost control. And you never make peace with it. It's like you give it up, but you resent it. So that's not healthy. And you may find that you can get, even if your husband won't do this, he may do something else that's so meaningful that you will actually be willing to have that instead of this. Or maybe he'll do exactly what you want if you communicated it right. What is my part in this? And then many people say to me, why do I have to do the work? I say, because you're on the phone. You want it. But I'm not sure I understand that question. Why am I supposed to do? Why is it up to me? That is remarkable. Could you imagine? It's up to us. The Eibusher created a world. He wanted there to him. He has a kavanah for the whole thing, and it's up to us. It's so remarkable that we could make it happen. And then the outcome, after a person is 80 years old, they don't look back and say, oh, why was it up to me to accomplish this remarkable thing? And why was it up to me to accomplish this? So grateful. If we can create a family environment that's a unit, it's not about me and getting what I want, not about him getting what he wants, but it's a family environment, a healthy family environment, and the mother or the father, whoever did most of the work, I mean, wow, what a gift. What an accomplishment. What CEO? Or, I mean, I'm sure Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, they never say, why me? It's just an accomplishment. So for me, as a mother, a wife, Friedman and Company, I mean, when I look at my family, I'd like to make that I did have a hand in this. And if I made changes that, even though I didn't want to, but I had to put the work in, great. I don't regret it after I've done it. I'm happy I had the opportunity. Maybe I wish life could be easier, but like the Rebbe said, who made a condition like that? We come down here to do work. All right. Mm-hmm. So the thing that was important,
not easy to hear, but
you know what? The work is hard. You're right. But you know what else? But you know what's even harder? Not doing it. Living with making peace for something that I don't want. You've got to turn this around. There are things about the spouse that is wonderful. There are things that are a gift. And if you're not seeing it, either you need to see it or you need to develop it. You know, I will just say that Devora was blind. And she had a very simple husband, okay? She's called Eshes Lapidus. Why is she called Eshes Lapidus? She had a very simple husband, and she wanted to give him a worth in life. She wanted to build him up. And she was a brilliant woman, right? She wanted to build him up. And so she would make wicks. For the Beis HaMikdash, for the menorah, she'd make wicks that were extraordinary wicks, and they gave out extraordinary light. Now, let's not forget, she was blind. And so she would give it to him to bring to the Beis HaMikdash as needed, right? And when he would come, they would call him Lapidus. I don't even know what his name is. His name was, but they called him Lapidus, which is a beautiful name. I mean, here he comes. It was such an accolade. It was such a positive thing, okay? And the Eibusher said, because you gave your life to like my Beis HaMikdash, my world, my house, I'm going to have you light Klal Yisrael. And so here she was blind, made wicks, a simple husband. You can look for chasrainas from Heinz bis Morgen. And yet she created something remarkable. And we have Varnavia.
Wow.
So, hey, what an accomplishment. Go for it. Each one of us has a remarkable gift. I don't know if we have men on the line, women on the line. We have a remarkable gift to create something. The greatest kavanah that there is in this world is to create a dir b'tachteinu. The Eibusher gives us a chelik l'kam imal mama. She tells us who we are, what our value is. We have an actually part of the Eibusher. My father just passed away, a few months ago. So I'll just mention this in his memory. He used to say, in the last years when he didn't know, if it would be the last time, he'd say to me, he said, Esther, the Eibusher will geben, das ist the kavanah. It was both a directive and a bracha for me, and a blessing. It gave me a focus. It always brought back the focus of what our purpose is, but it also gave me a bracha to accomplish it. If we could all do that, I mean, if you look at Viktor Frankl in the Holocaust, in the camps, what does he see? That if you have meaning in life, there's something to live for and something to work for. We have such purpose. We have such meaning. If we can make our home the best it can be, raise our children in a beautiful way, our husbands, make them feel comfortable at home. This is their home. They want to be there. Wow. What more can you ask for? They should give us all the keiches, the parnasa, the nachas, the chassidus nachas, everything that we need to help. So we sphere in the kavanah, and temperament theory helps in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That was a beautiful way to end the call. So this call has been recorded, and on the page, on Esther Friedman's page, we'll also have her contact information if you want to reach out to her for an assessment, or also you do coaching as well, right?
Yes,
general coaching or all? Okay.
No, so after we do the assessment, if people want to continue, so that I can walk them through it, and I help people, walk through their challenges, and it really changes their mindset, and they really get the hang of it, and it's amazing to see. It's just amazing to see the change. But the work is what everybody has to do, their own work. I'm just there for guidance.
Right. So the work is work no matter what it is. It's work. It's not a magic trick.
But
it's a tool.
Magic comes from Tumah.
Right. But this tool is amazing. I've seen it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an amazing
thing. Really, Esther, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. I think it's very enlightening, and it explains a lot of what is happening for some people. It's not just the conflict, it's actually the personalities, the temperaments, not fully working and understanding each other. So I think this was a great call, and I look forward to the recording, and we'll put your information up there as well. So thank you all, and thank you, Esther, and good night.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. Bye-bye.